Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to understand about the pod affinity preferred. Now that we have created the YAML file which was created previously, and the content of that was like it had a few labels over here, as you can see. It has like label as an app, name as a web app, and app end as backend, and then environment as production. So now when you are creating another pod and you want to use Affinity and you want to select the pod based on this one, so wherever the host it is using in terms of deploying this, you want to use that as well. Let's just say that this is an application level pod which uses Tomcat, for example. So in that situation, you would be likely deploying it wherever there is this application deployed. So if this application of web application is installed on the let's say that it is installed on worker 1, which is basically worker 1 is US West region, you want to have the Tomcat application which works with this HTTP instance to be installed on the same region. So in those situations that you need to choose this kind of an option wherein which you want to track this particular pod based on where the labels of the pod, which exactly tells about the application name, what it does. So in this application name is web application and the app end is backend. So you use this kind of a understanding to create a dependency on the next pod which you're creating, and then you want that pod to be aligned to that. So we are going to use this method to do that. So if you look at this configuration over here, so it is using Affinity pod Affinity. So previously we were using Affinity node Affinity. That's a major difference, and within that preferred during scheduling is all the same. And then here weightage is almost the same, and here you have pod affinity term, and you can see the label selector here. We are matching expression, and what we are looking as a key is your app and then the web app. Now topology key is very important. Now to understand about topology, we are invoking two different types of topology over here. One is the Kubernetes IO hostname and failure domain dot beta.kubernetes.io/zone. So this is the Kubernetes hostname is all part of your, if you just do control describe get pods. I'm sorry. Kube control get nodes, and then you just do a describe here of worker 1 nodes worker 1 grep of this particular action item. You can see that the host name is worker 1. So when you try to use this topology key, which is mandatory to use it with your pod affinity, because you need to scope where it needs to search for. Like it needs to try to match this particular topology as well as part of this label selector. So the label selector, the pod affinity term, should have both the label selector as well as the topology key for it to focus on it. So that's the reason why we're using it. So it indicates that the affinity rule should apply at the level of the individual node level. So that's the major reason why we give that. Pod with this affinity rule will prefer to be scheduled on the same node as the other pod matches the specific label. So basically that's the reason for why we are doing this. And that's one thing. And then this is another one, failure domain beta. So this is a topology key, indicates that the affinity rule should be applied at the level of that zone. Okay, the pod with the affinity rule will prefer to be scheduled in the same zone as the other pod matching the specific label, which is app and backend. So if you grab this one also, you will kind of get a value over here, but then the zone is like it's an individual value, so you may not get it as an output. But still, what we will do is like we will go ahead and create wm10.yaml file. So this is like workload management or workload scheduling 10.yaml file. So in this file, we will be actually using the one on your GitHub page. So we can copy paste that action item, which is the YAML file. Now this YAML file will have a simple deployment of Tomcat image, and this is called the Tomcat container over here. So what it would do is like it will create this pod using this preference of wait. So now it's going to refer your app equal to web app and also app equal to backend. Save and cut this file, do coup control, apply F. I can see that the pod is created. Now, the biggest question is like, where is this pod getting created? It should be created on the same node as the worker one. So it says creating container. Maybe it is downloading the Tomcat image. So let's just look at the description. Describe pod name. You can see that it's pulling Tomcat image and it started running over here, and it is created on the same worker container. Now it doesn't have any labels. We are not given any labels, but then now we can make sure that every time this particular pod will be created, it will be created where this my pod is created, because it is running with the two most items which is required for this pod to be created with. Thank you again for watching this video. I'll see you on the next one.